Matthew, everyday audiophile, music lover, and beer enthusiast, which if you spotted, it's right here. So the beer today is the Shiner Tex Hex Bruja Brew. This is one of my favorite IPAs. I'd actually forgotten about it for a while, but the reason I love it is that they brew it with cactus water. Now, if you know what that tastes like, if you've had it before, you're going to love this if you like IPAs. If you haven't, I would say it's a love it or hate it. I personally enjoy the taste. I think it brings back a lot of fond memories. And it tastes delicious. But with that said, let's get on with it. So, I'm not in my normal spot today. I want to talk about having secondary systems or tertiary systems like I normally do, one in the office as well. Quaternary systems, I have one in the living room. And if you're crazy, a quinary system, your fifth system. I'm not quite there yet, but my wife wouldn't put it past me for sure. But what I really want to talk about, the subject of today's video, if you are going to build a secondary, a third, a fourth system, what the goals of those systems should be. Because obviously you're not going to spend big money on every single system, right? For me, the primary system, the one in my media room where most of my videos are shot, that is the main system. That is where I go and I do my deep critical listening, where it's just me and music and beer. But to be honest, that's not where most of my time is spent. I'm lucky if I get to spend hours upon hours in that room. Usually I'm in the living room where I have my Q Acoustic Concept 500s powered by a Marantz receiver. Hardly in game for some people, but for me and my family, it's one of the most used systems on the house. So I have a goal with that system and a budget in mind that was tied to it. And it needed to check all the boxes. Not all the normal boxes related to music, but ones related to usability and just it working the first time, every time. You know, if my wife goes to turn it on to watch a movie or TV for the kids or even Spotify, she doesn't want to have to be flipping through settings in the receiver or make sure that the input is correct. It just needs to work every single time. And with those constraints, you are more willing to sacrifice some sense of sound quality, which, by the way, it sounds great. It's the Cinema 30. You're willing to sacrifice a little bit of that sound quality or perceived sound quality for all of these benefits and usability. I really do think it is a game of trade-offs and a game of compromises, but for a really good reason. So with that system, I still want it to sound great. I have a record player. They have a Riga P9 going into a Aria Mark III, so it's still a well-accomplished vinyl system with a pretty good amplification side of things. But when you go past that secondary system, right, the living room is an obvious place to put a system. Some people have their main systems there, and I am incredibly jealous of those that do. But some of us have a separate space, so you need to have that secondary system. But what about your office? What about your bedroom, which is where we're at right now? I have different design goals for each system, and the bedroom is the one that I've chosen to talk about today. So normally I don't have these beautiful Rosso Fiorentino speakers with me today. They're Certaldos too. Usually I have a nice set of bookshelves from Art Duluth. They're called La Piccola. You can't get them anymore, but unfortunately they're one of my favorite stand mount speakers that you can get. Their claim to fame is having a serial crossover instead of a parallel, and that is something special indeed. But we're going to save that for another video. Attached to this Certaldo, we have the Luxman SQ-N150. This is a tube integrated running 12 watts per channel. Beneath that is the Luxman D-N150. That's their CD player and DAC. And then below that, the Lumin U2 Mini. Not cheap components if you buy them at retail, which I did not. All of this is used, so well below retail, but a nice system nonetheless. You know, when I think of a bedroom system, what I'm really thinking of is late night listening. The missus wants to fall asleep. You can't be playing music super loudly, so anything more than 12 to 20 watts is kind of wasted. And in that sense, the Audio A20, the little integrated amp that I reviewed not a month and a half ago, it would be perfect for this system, for this use case, right? 20 watts, no issues there. And it would be a little bit cleaner sounding than these tubes. But I put this system together not just for low power, low level listening, low to moderate level listening, but also because of the form factor. All of these components take up the size of a sheet of paper. That's right, an 8.5 by 11. So that was the overall constraint that I put myself in when I was designing this system, when I was choosing the components. Is not only did I want it to sound great, which these, by the way, they sound amazing, but I needed it to not take up a lot of room because the rest of this dresser and everything else, it doesn't belong to me. That belongs to the wife. Sure, I stack things on there, but that's her space. I don't mess with it. Let's take a moment to talk about how these components all sound. I haven't talked about any of these in my main system, so you're gonna have to take it with a little bit of grain of salt, but I want to talk about what each of these components bring to the table that for me made it the perfect solution for the bedroom and hopefully the perfect solution in the foreseeable future. First, we'll start with the Lumin U2. The thing I like about this is obviously the form factor, but also it sounds really good. Not only does it sound good, but I think it edges out the Holo Audio Red that I have in my main system. The only reason that this is down here instead of up there is because of this form factor. I will talk about it in a future video, but the U2 sounds great. The app is shit, but it itself sounds great. Above that, we have the N150, right? This is the CD player / DAC. So the U2 is just a streamer. It does USB into the N150 here. And I think it sounds really good. Unlike most DACs that use ESS or AKM, Luxman have chosen to go with Texas Instruments, which I think is a great idea. It's the PCM 5102A. And for all intents and purposes, I think that this is a great sounding piece. Sure, it's not better than my Audio S5B, but for a system like this, I think it's perfect. It is so detailed and so airy in the top end. It really is a nice complement to the SQ-N150 up top, and it's probably why Luxman chose it. Speaking of the N150, the tube amp up here I've had for a number of years, and for how compact it is, right? 8.5 by 11. It is my most favorite piece of gear that I have in my entire collection. Sure, it's not the most powerful. Sure, it doesn't have the cleanest measurements. You can go look on Stereophile. You can go to Audio Science Review and read their thoughts about it. It does not check any boxes when it comes to measurements, right? It's a tube amp. And not only is it a tube amp, I would have loved for them to use bigger output transformers, but compact. So you have to work with the space that you're given, and for what it is great. The mids rolled off just slightly. They aren't too detailed, but they're not too analog sounding. The mids, they have a sense of bloominess to them, which is a little unusual for an EL84. It's not my favorite attribute, but It's not like a 2A3. It's not like a single-ended triode that is just bloomy to be bloomy for that character. So this strikes the right balance there. And into the lows, it is punchy, but it doesn't go down that deep. It's not going to take these Certaldos down as far as they can go, or any other speaker in my collection, but I don't need it to. This is the bedroom system. Keep that in mind. What I'm looking for is just a sweet, dreamy, lovely to listen to with just the right amount of details. I want to be able to put on some jazz or light rock, some indie, some folk, and not wake up the missus. I don't want to wake up the wife. I just want to listen to music myself. And for that, the system does great. Rounding out the system, like I said, we have the Certaldos here. I did feature them in my last video, and I will talk about these in the near future. They have quickly become one of my favorite speakers as far as imaging is concerned. I think it has to do with the small 5¼ inch drivers. I'm not sure. I will talk about it, but the imaging on them is unlike any other speaker that I've heard. Sure, they may not be the most detailed, but they give up a little bit of that detail that you might find from Purify drivers or Accuton or any of these high-end drivers, and instead give you layering upon layering upon layering front to back. Yeah, they're not in the perfect position. They're not really set up in the room. They have to be back up against the wall. But for the time being in the bedroom here, it is a match made in heaven. It is truly a wonderful system to listen to. There's one last thing I wanted to bring up talking about this system. I don't know about you, but sometimes you design a system with certain goals and it ends up exceeding those goals so much that it becomes one of your favorite systems. Even though this is the bedroom system, it doesn't get used all day, every day. It may even go unused for a couple days at a time. It is one system that I have grown emotionally attached to for how lovely the music is to listen to. And my wife will back me up when I say, if we had to move to a tiny house, this would be the system that I bring with me. Maybe not these speakers. I'd probably have to go back to the stand mounts. But these three components, and maybe a turntable as well, can't blame you there, that would be my system of choice. Yes, this doesn't have all of the bass, it doesn't have all of the detail and the nuance and the micro details and the transients that you get from big components like what's in my main system, but it makes up for it in musicality. It is something that is just lovely to listen to. You just want to keep on listening to it, whatever it is playing. And I think that says a lot. I think that that sense of musicality is something that should be sought after no matter which system it is that you're looking for. It's just that this one right here, it hit it out of the ballpark for me. So circling back, the point of this, where I started with the video, when you are building these secondary systems, these tertiary systems, or fourth or fifth system that you have in the house, they should be built with a goal in mind, with a budget in mind, and you should be more open to compromises in sound quality to obtain certain attributes that you need in that system. Like I said, for the main system, the one in the bedroom that has the Marantz Cinema 30 powering the Concept 500s, that system is all about simplicity. It just needs to work first time, every time, no matter what. The kids need to be able to use it, right? I have a 4 and a 6-year-old. They can't troubleshoot issues. They just need it to work. The system in the office is all about near field listening. So I have the components picked in that system to take advantage of being 1.5 feet from the speaker. So that's where I'm using my 2A3 monoblocks with their 4.5 watts per channel. I don't need 100 watts. I don't need 50 watts or 20 watts. 4 watts is perfect for being 1.5 feet from the speaker. And then we have this system, right? The main system upstairs. With that said, though, I hope you all have a great week. I'm looking forward to listening to this system or wherever I happen to be enjoying a beer. And I will chat with y'all next week. See ya.